back to the Chappy Bengals Podcast, where we're bringing you above average sports talk with 100% effort and only about 60% of the accuracy. So we got Chappy over here. We're coming back from the holidays.
Yeah.
What's going on, Chappy?
And
how was your holidays, man?
It was good, man. Family time. Just kicking around, but had a lot of people over. It was good. Hung out, had some drinks. Best time ever. Watched some football. That's the best part.
Can't say it was any good, but we definitely watched some football.
No, it was not any good, but we did watch some football. Put some bets in place, and when you run down that line, it was a fun time. It was nothing hit. It was fucking it. But we were having drinks. It was a good time.
It was a good time. It was good, man. It was good. It was quick. Seems to get quicker and quicker every single year. I don't know how it is when you have kids on your end. Like you're living the whole shitstorm of stuff, running them through all the things that you got to do when you have a child. I haven't experienced that yet. But
it's a blast, though. They enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's a good time. Yeah.
That's
you see
awesome.
the joy come around, and you're like, oh, forgot about that. Yeah. So it's good.
Oh, I felt that once upon a time.
Once upon a time.
That was a good time.
This shit was fun. Now I just drink.
And get fucked over by your work for holiday timings.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just how it goes when you're an adult.
Sometimes. But
still, it was great, man. Fucking Christmas is a good time. Even better when you got sports on. The games weren't great, and we're going to get into that. It is Friday, December 27th. For those of you out there that are listening and tuned in here, we're going to be talking about Week 17 in the NFL. Yes, it is Week 17 already. A lot of implications. It is fantasy playoff week. The finals. Championships for a lot of people. So a lot of these games are going to be super meaningful. Me and Chappy were just going back and forth about one of the finals matchups in our league together. I am currently down a little bit, but we're going to kind of go over some of these matchups and see what we got in store this week from the NFL. So before we get into that, because it is the fantasy finals, we want to talk about some of the playoff injuries and player news, things like that. So big one coming out to start us off here. Jalen Hurts ruled out with a concussion. This is a big one considering, the Eagles, they dropped last week and now you're in a fight. I don't know if you're going to be vying for that number one seed anymore, but they still got to keep winning because they got Washington right on their tails now. I'm kind of curious to see because Kenny Pickett came in. I thought he was serviceable to a degree, but we just touched on this. It impacted kind of the passing game on more of a plus side of things because then the defense played them as if they're stacking the box a little bit more. So then obviously Kenny Pickett's not going to be a rushing threat. He's got to throw the ball a little bit more. So this is going to be interesting to see. And we'll talk about that when we get into the Philly matchup. But so he's ruled out. CD Lamb shut down with a shoulder injury.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one for fantasy and for sports betting if you had a season-long ticket at all. Yeah. I know I had him for plus 1250. I think his line was just over that. So he was about, so that shut down, obviously. David Montgomery a few weeks ago got shut down, and that was on the line, which is insane. But yeah, that definitely has bigger implications for sports betting as well on that line. But yeah, just unfortunate. Obviously, big for a lot of people. Probably I took him second overall in my other league. So that sucks. It is one of those things that you kind of you hope to have that guy all the way through. Not nearly as bad as CMC owners and just having that suck the entire season. But yeah,
talk about those first three picks in drafts this year. It was like CMC, Tyreek Hill, CD Lamb.
Yeah.
Quite the first picks off.
I thought I had the best one in CD all throughout the season, and then obviously that's his shoulder injuries definitely played a part in the last couple of weeks here, as well as Dak being hurt. Right, that was another narrative that's in there. And he didn't really show that difference between that. Like he was still good, doing his thing. Like Cooper Rush was throwing him the ball a lot, so didn't really feel it. But yeah, that sucks for the finals here for sure. Absolutely. That definitely fucked a lot of people over.
Yeah, I know I'm playing somebody with CD Lamb in the finals. They had to swap him out, so I mean, worked in my favor there. But yeah, that's tough. And we got Seahawks Kenneth Walker placed on the IR. This guy's just been dealing with it all season long.
Yeah.
Once again on the IR. So any of you guys with Zach Charbonnet, you look good again against the Bears. Mind you, there wasn't a whole lot of looking good in that game. So, I mean, you got what you got out of him. And then we got Rodgers, looks to play through a bit of an MCL injury here. And then you got Devontae Adams with a hip, who is questionable against the Bills. I expect both those guys to go. They're just riding it out. We've talked about this. Then some other big news. We got J.K. Dobbins activated for return versus the Patriots. Now, this is a big question here because Gus Edwards isn't playing. Patriots obviously not the greatest run defense. So when you look at starting J.K. Dobbins, do you think he's going to be on a snap count? Things like that. Like, these are the concerns you might have. I might take a shot on him in one of my leagues, but we'll talk about that when we get in the Chargers game too. We got Anthony Richardson, looks to be questionable. James Conner will play for the Cardinals this weekend. Malik Neighbors also questionable, and then you have Alvin Kamara, who's been ruled out. So that's kind of the player news and the injury roundup heading into the fantasy finals week and the second last week in the NFL. And then now we can kind of get into some of our main topics here, and we want to touch on these holiday games to begin, and kind of what if happened. There's some records broken. Obviously, the games weren't the greatest, but a big stat that kind of came out, obviously, on Christmas, you have the NFL now. It's always been the NBA that's had the Christmas games, right? You're a little bit more of an NBA guy over there, Chappy. Me, not so much. But they're showing the viewership between the NBA and the NFL. NFL, 24.2 million viewers tuned into the NFL games. And for the NBA, it was only 5.25 million viewers. Now, with that, I kind of ask you, like, how do you feel about the NBA product and where it's at in comparison to the NFL right now?
Yeah, I saw that stat line. There was two parts of that. Did they just shift focus? Right? Like in some part of it, I saw that comparison. I was like, all right, was it 5 million of this year? That was like, were they comparing 5 million viewers this year compared to the 24 million? Or was it 5 million from last year when there wasn't any Christmas games?
No, that's viewership this year.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm curious about. Then I'd be curious to see what the stat was of the viewership when there was only NBA on and not conflicting with the NFL games. Because I myself did tune into the NFL games over the NBA games, and then later put on, I think it was Golden State and somebody, I can't remember exactly. But that was like, I turned on basketball, but it was post-football. So I honestly, I'd be curious if you took that same number and you look back at last year and see if it was the same viewership. But the product as a whole, like, I don't think the NBA is really dealing with, like, I keep hearing this narrative that the NBA doesn't have any fucking superstars. And I keep laughing at that because I think it's such a stupid take that the NBA actually probably has one of the greatest players of all time playing right now in the NBA, and no one's paying any fucking mind to it in Nikola Jokic. And by the way he was playing. So maybe it's just a product issue that they're having in terms of like pushing the player because it's not like a LeBron James. It's not.
Well, he's not an American either,
it's
right?
Not
like you can't really market him the same way you would a big American.
Yeah, but like that to me is crazy because you do have that in it. You have Luka, you have these guys. Luka's hurt, but like you have these big players, and all of them happen to be European or like of the world, not American, and then it's hard to, I guess, market that in the States. I don't know if that's a problem. Like, to me, I'm just like, you this narrative of like LeBron has to be playing on Christmas Day in order for something to like pull, but LeBron's fading off. And like, that's, so now you have to find that next player. And they're trying to run through all the names. They're like, Giannis. Okay, well, Giannis. Okay, cool. Then Shea. Well, Shea's Canadian. And now they're like, oh, fuck. Like, we got Anthony Edwards and we got Jason Tatum. No one likes Jason Tatum right now because of his corny ass shit. And Edwards is actually
you can't
sick.
Market somebody.
You
who
can
steals
market
everybody
the shit
else's
out of Andrew
personality.
Edwards. You can market the shit, and they have, and they've done a really good job with it. Yeah. And it, like, honestly, like the old style MJ vids for like that he's done has been sick, and I've loved them.
Are cool.
But like they're just having a problem with this narrative right now. And it's like, yo, just, maybe compare the fact that Nikola Jokic guy's box plus minus is like the best of all time right now. If you're going to look at it like this, like you have the guy, too bad he wants to play with his horses and go back to Serbia. Like, unfortunate, but fuck, like, I think it's so funny. I like in comparison to the NFL. That's why I bring that up is like, well, everyone knows what football is to America. Like,
it's fucking religion.
It's religion. So what are we going to say? Like, could you put baseball on there? No, it's going to get fucking smoked. Now they're not playing baseball on Christmas, but like, it's just not the same viewership. It never has been. So like NBA in bulk is definitely pulling a huge market now in the States, but NFL has always reigned supreme and will continue to reign supreme because we talked about it, it's a condensed game. So now you're throwing that condensed game on Christmas, boom, that's on my TV guaranteed. Like guaranteed.
Yeah. See, when I look at it, I don't watch too much NBA. I do follow it a little bit. I think when you say like the stars are dying off, like LeBron James, Steph Curry, I think that's, like the rivalries between those two stars and what it was kind of like, I don't know if there's any of those narratives right now. Like, are there any big, star against star narratives in the NBA, any team versus team narratives? Like in the NFL, it's easy to draw those, like, Ravens Chiefs things. Like you have those narratives everywhere, intra-division things. Those are big. And because you only play so many games, obviously it's a big thing.
Yeah.
But in the NBA, you don't have that anticipation for things like that.
The
I feel
NBA
like
is dealing right now with like a problem of like their stars playing, right? And they're trying to incentivize in every which way.
That is the other
thing
too.
Tournaments, and they're pushing that the 65 games is like a baseline that these guys have to play. And so like this is definitely a part to it where like in order to have those big games, you need to have those big players play. And I think that's what they're struggling with right now. And there wasn't a huge like a huge game that I would say like pulled any attention. But like, Christmas, Mahomes is playing, like it's hard to like pull away from what the NFL is also pushing onto us. Right. So it's like, you want to see that and you want to be like, oh, Steelers sick. Like maybe they can take these guys down. And that's a good narrative. Right. So and people want to see that. Everyone who's not a Chiefs fan wants to see that. So and then
for sure,
lo and behold, fucking stinker, you get smoked. But that's what you should have expected.
Yeah, crazy, and we're gonna touch on that. But funny thing, you mentioned baseball. I forget. I saw this the other day. Somebody said that apparently, I can't remember where this was. Somebody said the MLB was a dying sport, and
Cam Newton
soon. Was it Cam Newton that said the WNBA would pass the MLB? Yeah. And I was like,
get a little heat for that. Yeah.
That's a pretty fucking hot take. Oh yeah. That's a hot take.
It was in 20 years.
Appreciate the support for the ladies, but man, that's a hot take, especially with the MLB, man. They got some stars right now.
Yeah.
With Shohei and everything that's going on there too.
They need to do a little bit better of like, but I will say the last couple seasons have been much better with the changes that they made. The pitch clock, the stolen base is back in the game. Like there's a lot of good things that the MLB has done. They just need to
speeding the game up was a lot better. They've
sped up the game, right? Like it's a pastime, man. Like people go to the ballpark to like hang out, have a few drinks, see a few balls get hit. A lot of people don't even pay attention to the game a lot of the time. And that's the unfortunate part. That's the narrative that's been built, and that's kind of how it's played out. But that take, I saw that and I was like, Cam, what the fuck are you saying, man? Like that's
tough.
Crazy.
It was a tough take. And we talk about that. Like, yeah, sure. If your team's not in the playoffs, sports suck, man. And for baseball, it's a drawn out process. Like it's dry, man. Like we watched the Jays. Yeah. They sucked last year. It's not fun watching a baseball team play that many games when they suck, right? But when you look at the playoffs and like years back when we had the Donaldson era where we were in the playoffs, like that was some of the most electric times to be a baseball fan is when your team is on the run in the playoffs. Like that's amazing. So,
playoff ball is by far, I think, pitch to pitch, the most entertaining sport when it comes down to it, because anything can happen, and that hit, that pitch, that strikeout is so much more meaningful in those tight fucking moments. And playoff playoff baseball is fucking incredible. This past playoff baseball, this past World Series was fucking incredible. Like the whole thing, actually, all the playoff ball was fucking sweet. So yeah.
And I mean, like, you're not going to take advice from Cam Newton on baseball, probably. So
no,
we get it, Cam. But I think the only thing I take from these other leagues in North America is the amount of games that they play and just the way that the sports they're kind of going, like hockey, the NBA, MLB. Like, there's just too many fucking in-season games now. When we look at the product of football, we always talk about scarcity on the show and why it's made the NFL what it is today is because of that. That's why it's so good. You look at the NBA and all this load management shit. It's like, well, just play less fucking games in the season then, and let's not do all this fluffy nonsense and make everything mean a little bit more. But then you look at the revenue and all that stuff. Like, you're not going to not. If anything, they want to play more shitty games to get more money. Like, they're not going to take it away, right?
Yeah. No, the funniest thing is, like, I want to see more come of these, like, billionaires and these owners doing better things by the fans. Like, fucking Clippers, obviously just invested a ball. I can't remember his name. Ridiculous guy. One of the richest owners in sports, but put that $1 billion stadium together for the Clippers arena and just sunk all of his money.
Steve
no
Ballmer.
tax. There it is. And I was going to say Balsillie, but I think that's like,
I knew where you're
former,
going.
I don't know, BlackBerry. I think that's the BlackBerry CEO. But and this guy, and then the Phoenix Suns owner just put everything down to $2 for the food for concessions. Like, everything is $2 at the fucking stadium or the arena, and that's incredible. Do more shit like that.
Yeah, you need
like,
to do
we're
more
paying
shit
you
like
the
that.
money. We know that we're gonna pay that money, but like, to go there and then be able to like eat and have affordable shit,
enjoy the game fully,
enjoy the game, and like not have to worry about everything else costing you like another $150-$200. Like, that's the good part. So like, if more owners chose to do that, I guarantee you. That's why I laugh with the Rogers Center and all the fucking shit that happened with our place. They just hiked up every fucking price of everything.
Joke.
And it was like, all right, sweet. I get that you invested $300 or $600 million into this stadium, but like, now I'm paying for it again on top of the fact that I have your fucking Wi-Fi. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Toronto is not a good place to go and watch sports because they're hiking the costs up. And shout out to Rogers out there for all this bullshit. You got venues like that. You got venues like that are doing these things. Like Atlanta's doing it. The concession stands, they're affordable. Like, man, you got nowadays, especially, you got families that are bringing their children. You imagine bringing like 2-3 kids to a fucking game and having to get them snacks and food and shit like that, drinks. Like, that's nuts, man. Like, do us a favor. We're already paying so much to go see the game. Like, help us out a little bit.
Do a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
fuck you, Rogers.
It's like the people that pay for the lower bowl fucking tickets and the seats and shit are the same people that are then getting like the fucking same prices they can afford, but then everyone who just fucking scraped in the top section and was like, all right, I still spent good money on these fucking tickets because they're not cheap. And then you come in and you're like, no, I can't even fucking eat. Like, I'm house poor. I'm fucking ticket poor. Like, they don't go to the game. That's what people will say. Like, yo, listen, fucking not everyone's rich, man. Like, fuck. I get it's a nice thing to do, but like, yo, that's what it's like in Toronto with the Leafs. Like, you can't even fucking go. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, you literally have to like mortgage your house to get something in there. And it doesn't even matter where. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not fun. That should be more mainstream. The owners doing stuff like that for the fans and making it more of a, an experience that you can afford. You're not having to shell out.
You know what's awesome? So here's a good story. So when I was back, probably this would have been like maybe 8 years ago, and I was in Pittsburgh at the time, and we went to, I think it was I can't remember what it was called, like PPC or PG Paints or something arena at the time. It's something different now, I think. And we went in there and we didn't have tickets and we couldn't get tickets. And then we went to the arena. It was right up from the hotel where we were at. And we literally stand in line at the ticket box and we go, hey, any way that there's any tickets left. And they're like, I was like, I honestly, it doesn't matter the price to me. Just like, I just want to go to one. So like, whatever, just like, let me know what it is. And they're like, yeah, we got players tickets for you. Like we can like their whole family didn't come for one of the players. We can get you those tickets. And I was like, for real? Like, that's sick. Like, unfortunate for the guy's players.
Yeah, which player was this? Who showed their fucking guy?
It was James Neal.
No way.
Yeah.
Good old James Neal.
Fucking incredible. So we end up getting these tickets. They were only like $90. I was like, what the fuck
Would they sell them to you? Like, just like face value or something like that?
Just face value. And I was like, sick. And I was like, yo, do you understand how much these would be in Toronto? And she was like,
nuts.
She's like, no, I don't. And I was like, honestly, I couldn't even get you the number. It's so ridiculous. But I was like, but the fact that this is this guy's tickets and alone, I was like, this is the greatest story ever. So I'm fucking run this shit into, and it was great. Like fucking it was awesome. It was a great seats, great fucking time. Won hot dogs from some blimp that was going around in the fucking stadium. I was like, this is
one
awesome.
of those games. You just got everything rolling.
Got everything rolling our way. Yeah. So I was like,
that is cool. I mean, even so, the story, like, that just makes it, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Then I'm just like, come back to Toronto, never fucking go to a game. Like, it's fucking awesome.
I will say, man, like, I've been to a lot of hockey games outside of the city of Toronto, and I will say they're a lot better than down here in Toronto. The experience is just better. The fans are just better. All you Leafs fans out there, I'm sure you guys can vouch for that.
You get into the top bowl, you're in Leaf country. But if you get down in, like, Leaf Nation lives in the top. Anything lower than that is just corporate bullshit.
Yeah,
I've been in those seats. I've been in the bottom seat. I've been like right next to the glass, and you feel like it's getting a bit better. I feel, but like it's because that narrative's out there. But still, like it's still just so fucking like. Guys are coming in their suits and everything. It's just like bullshit. It's like a business trip. It's a business endeavor. It's a sales job. It's fucking awful.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's unfortunate. But that's the thing, man. The experience is huge, right? You want to go to a game and experience these things. And, like, I'll never forget it. I went to Florida. There's more Leafs fans in Florida all the time.
Between Florida and Tampa.
They're actually just going nuts, chanting Go Leafs Go. And the experience is just, it's crazy. And that's what we're there for, that shit, right? Like, we want it to be an experience.
100%.
Making sure the concessions are affordable for all of us too is part of it, man. Like, let's not all just be about, gaining money from these ventures, and let's make this an experience for the people out there.
Yes.
But now let's segue into some of these games from the holidays after that good little chat there. Yeah. So let's start with the first game here. We got the Chiefs at Pittsburgh, and the narrative here was the Chiefs can clinch the number 1 seed with a win. And they did that. They won, and they won handedly against the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend. Can't say this was much of a game ever. I want to kind of get your initial takes just on this game and what you saw.
Chiefs are the favorites. It's hard to ignore this. You know what? I honestly got, as more things kind of progressed, I was like, fuck, he has a receiving core now too. Like they have slowly melded together again. Like, not having Rashee Rice is definitely an impact, but Hopkins and Worthy,
Marquise Brown now,
Marquise Hollywood Brown, and now you're like, oh fuck, like this team is like, he's like Thanos and he's collecting Infinity Stones, and here comes the fucking Chiefs again, because honestly, their defense, we know what they've been all season long. And now you got Mahomes getting all these guys back, and he's just going to start making things happen again. Pacheco, Hunt was a great signing midseason, so there's depth there. This team, to me, is by far, they're there to lose it, like 100%. That's my take. It's like, we got a little shift for the Chiefs narratives. Well, there's one for you. Like, this team 100% has it. Pittsburgh on the other side, they're not there, right? Like, that was a statement game for the other side, which was, if you're going to run into this team, and that's the whole point of this, and you have to beat them, then you don't look like you can beat them. Like, and that was my biggest thing. I was like, this team isn't even remotely fucking close to the Chiefs right now. So what were your thoughts?
Oh, buddy, my thoughts are, the Steelers are the fucking Steelers. I don't know how many times I got to say this shit on camera. It's like, my God, if you want to be the best of the mid, congratulations, you are. You guys are the best of the mid. You get into the playoffs and you fucking lose. Like, any competent team they go up against, they fold. They've played 3 of the better teams in this league the last couple weeks, with Philly, with Baltimore and with the Chiefs just now, and they've gotten crushed.
Yeah.
They haven't even been remotely in these games.
Yeah.
And it's like, when are we done with this? Like, as a Steelers fan, you're probably sitting there going, holy fuck, I'm about to watch the same story again. Yeah. And every year I hear the same shit about Mike fucking Tomlin and how amazing of a coach this guy is. And this isn't to shit on them. It's like, yeah, he's a great coach. You guys have been above 500.
Winning team. Yep.
That is amazing.
Yep.
But at what point do you go, this guy can't win a big fucking game to save his life, though? Like, who's going to be the scapegoat now, right? Like, you have a top 3 defense in this league, again, as you usually do. Now you have a serviceable quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going up against these teams in these meaningful games, and you're getting your ass handed to you. I don't know where we're going to go with this, and it's been like this for the last 10 years. They had the best offense in football. Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, amazing. Antonio Brown, studs, and they couldn't fucking get to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So at what point do you sit here and do you go, what the fuck do we need to actually be a good team? And
I think they are a good team, but I think, are they a great team? And that's the narrative here that we should be saying, right?
So if you can't win a big game, who's at fault here, right?
They've always been a good team in the last, like you said, in the last little bit, they've definitely been there. But I find with Pittsburgh, it goes through this spell of like getting a piece that's now filling a piece, and then another one falls off, and then it's kind of like a rotating circle of like, now you got TJ Watt, and this guy's fucking incredible, and you had Najee Harris go off that one fucking first of the rookie season, and then all this kind of happened, and then they thought they had Kenny Pickett as part of this fucking big narrative, and then they had to go and chase fucking Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and now they're trying to like constantly fill in these spots that were once filled with the guys that you mentioned there. And it's just been a rotating affair of trying to figure this shit out constantly and never really pulling it together offensively. Like, I thought this team somewhat had I want to say a dynamic offense that they could start to play those things. And I think that's how Coach T was fucking trying to play it through there, was like, okay, on these plays, I might work with Russell Wilson. On this, I might roll with Justin Fields. On this, I might go run heavy with Jalen Warren. On this, I might go with Najee Harris. And you start fucking seeing his motions happen, but then collectively, it still has to equate to wins. And that's in these games, in the last 3 games, no, like it hasn't. And I say, this is why I said this last week. Does this team win against the Bengals the way that they're going right now? And the only thing that I will say is, like, if the defense shows up for the Bengals, even remotely, I don't think they do. And so, yeah, like, you're running into this situation where you're a good team, all right, but you're not a great team. So, yeah. I don't know.
So what do you do? And this was my thing. It's like, okay, at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck how good your team is. You need a good quarterback. A good quarterback in this league. You look at every team that's in the finals. Quarterback. Now,
every single one of the ones that we're going to name here in the next little bit here are all going to be great quarterbacks.
Well, I look at last year as an example.
Like, who's a playoff contender that doesn't have a great quarterback right now?
Great. Well, this is where you have to establish what great is, right?
No, but I would say run Philly. Jalen Hurts, collectively, his production is great. It can be great. Right?
I would teeter along the line of, I don't even know if he's a great quarterback.
I would say
I think he fits that system perfectly, and that's where it's like,
which
the
production
mold of the
value
team,
makes
right?
you great. So, like, regardless of how whatever you want to say, passing, whatever bullshit you want to say, his production value, rushing TDs, like, and all the rushing
Goff,
yards and the other stuff.
Is he a great quarterback?
Jared Goff, I would say, is a great quarterback. I would say
I think
this year and last year,
Hurts.
He's been great. Like, but I think you go through these peaks and valleys, right? Like, Russell Wilson was considered a great
quarterbacks,
and now is great? Not a great. He's good, right?
Okay, so then you're taking away, like, elite is its own tier, and then you're going great and then good. So you're putting Russ in the good, and then those guys in the great.
Yeah, if we did one of those like S charts, and maybe we could do this another time. Yeah. But I would put exactly what you just said, like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar, 1, 2, 3 at the elite. And then fill in the rest. Great, good, whatever. But, like, I think he's considered good. Jalen's considered great. Now Russell's considered good. Like, he's not great this year. He's good. He's good. He does a job. and that's what they've asked them to do. So,
and I think this is where, you know what, and the one saving grace I will have, because I didn't want to have any sort of like what ifs coming into this argument, because I wanted to spew this out. And all the Steelers fans out there, I want to know what you guys are thinking too at the exact same time, because I know you're sitting there pounding sand watching this shit get run back again. Like, you guys you're having a great year. You've lost 3 straight. This was where it was the prove it moment for you guys. And you're like, for fuck's sakes, here we go again. So I want to know, and you guys can put it in the comments wherever, tag us. I want to know how you're feeling as Steeler fans out there, because this has got to be frustrating as fuck to watch. And it reminds me of when we had Andy Dalton, and it was just like great defense. We got to the playoffs. We'd lose every fucking first round. And it was like we were the best of the mid, and we could just never win the game. And it's almost worse than just being ass, because at least when you're ass, you know you're ass. Right? You don't got to go through this fucking turmoil. And it's like, holy shit, man, because they get your hopes up, right?
Yeah.
But I think the saving grace for them was they had George Pickens back. It was a home game. It was a home game. They had everything they needed, and they still got their asses handed to them by the Chiefs. And I will say, this was the fairest win I've seen from the Chiefs, and the most convincing win I've seen from the Chiefs too. I can accept a fair win when you go out there and you beat another team on the field and there's no pivotal calls or any bullshit like that. Like, I'm cool with that. If that's who the Chiefs were, I'd be great with that. There's just too much swaying from the official side of things, and that's why there's so much hatred with this team.
What's so wild is you're saying
you
this,
just
I'm
get
kind of
those
laughing.
Swings.
I'm laughing because the one thing that I remember saying as I'm watching that game was the George Pickens early whistle. You see that play where he basically spun out of it. He actually got out of the fucking, they tried to push him back, but he went to strip the ball. George Pickens gets out of it, but the whistle was already played because there was 2 defenders on him, and it was like forward motion. So they called the whistle right away, and then he fucking had actually wiggled out of it and started to take off. And I laughed, and I was like, oh, that was quick. But was it going to be anything? That. Who knows? But that's why I was chuckling. I was like, the whole time you're saying this, I'm like, I could call it. I remember.
Well, like this is the difference, though. You look at this game, and it's like,
it was
there
still
wasn't
convincing.
Really like a
it's
massive
not like that's
call.
The game changer.
Like overturning a touchdown and then making it a roughing the passer call. Like that shit is
borderline.
wild.
That Pickens one might have turned into a touchdown.
That's still. Okay. And they had a holding call on the touchdown that was brought back, but at the same time, Pittsburgh just didn't fucking do enough. They didn't look well. Or even hang in that game.
They lost that, and Chiefs won that 100 times over. Yeah. Guaranteed.
And it goes back to you.
Absolutely.
We always have to.
We have to. There's no way that we can.
It goes back to you saying, like, they're like, oh shit, here we go again. They're starting to fucking look good, right at the time where they need to. And it is. I think I literally went and I looked at the odds of Chiefs winning the Super Bowl after that game, because I was like, I don't know about this. And after those games, and obviously it's a little just recency bias. Yeah, I do only think there's 2 teams here that are going to be in the AFC Championship game, and it's Kansas City against Baltimore, and we'll talk about that game next. But just to kind of finish up here, you talked about them going into the last week. Like, if Cincinnati if they lose this week, or next week the Chiefs already won, so that kind of screws the Bengals' odds of getting in. They're playing a little bit more freely. Like, I can definitely see them walking in there, especially with their beat up secondary and Joey B and company. Just fuck it. Let's just throw dots all day. And we got nothing to lose, right? Like playing like that is, that's some scary shit. And Pittsburgh could be going into the playoffs fucking 0-4, like on the tail end of things. And that's crazy to think of.
Yeah. They got to get that win.
Yeah, and
it's critical that they get that win.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. They got to win that game, so that's going to be crazy. But I'm looking at this Pittsburgh team, and it's like you look at the 2 games, and it's identical teams. KC, Baltimore, they are the teams. Then you look at Houston and Pittsburgh, like first round exits to me. That's exactly what they look like. I just don't see how these teams are going to contend with the play that they're getting. But. No. Wild. Some records in this game, though. Kelsey breaks Tony Gonzalez's record with his 77th career touchdown.
And what an easy one. Just fucking wide open.
That's what he does, man. He finds a spot in the zone, and you knew that was coming. Didn't pull the trigger on sprinkling the anytime TD with Kelsey, but that was a play for sure. We knew that was coming. But yeah, Steelers Nation, man. Let me know how you're feeling about Mike T and the Steelers moving forward here, and what you guys think they should do. We'll talk about that in later segments based on the ending of the season. But let's get into the second game on the holiday slate here. We got Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, walk into Houston and just annihilate the Texans. This wasn't even a game. I think the only point in this game that made this game close or remotely close was when that official threw that pass interference flag on Baltimore's defense, which was horrendous. Horrendous. And I will sit there and say, I'm never cheering for the Baltimore Ravens, but that flag was fucking awful.
Yeah.
It was awful. And that was the only glimmer of hope that team had, and they still fucked it up and they couldn't score any points.
Yeah. You know what's wild? I think I saw it. It was only 5 teams had historically scored 2 points in a game.
Yeah.
Only 5 teams. You got a safety. You got a safety. That's what happened.
Pretty embarrassing way to go.
That's wild. And honestly, I was always shocked at the safety and how that even transpired. Derrick Henry got fucking tackled in the back. Like I was like,
kind of ran back into his end zone there.
But yeah, no, this whole game was just such a shit show. And
it was bad, man.
Ran through them. I think it was so funny. So I always like to whatever when you run against an elite player and then you see these like matchups. And this was my thing. I was like, okay, Derrick Henry, 26th ranked game against the run, rush attempts, 27th or 29th. This is Texans, and I was like, so this is a pretty good run defense. Okay, I'm not gonna play Derrick Henry today. Like, just terrible situation. Not to play, but like to bet on this guy. Like 27 rush attempts, 147 yards with a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like you just, if you look at those things, like don't even look at those matchups sometimes and just run it because it doesn't, he was running for 8 yards a fucking game. Yeah. Like it was like ridiculous. I was like, this team can't stop this guy.
Dude, the Texans look fucking bad, man.
Yeah.
They look really bad. And I know you can sit here and point out some of these injuries, but dude, these guys don't look like they want to play ball right now.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Like you look at this, it's like how sophomore slump, CJ Stroud, he does not look good. Yeah. And you can blame like O-line, this and that, but dude, they can't get the running game going anymore. This team
he's not accurate this year, man. Like that's my biggest thing is he's
very shaky in the pocket now too. His decisions.
Yeah. Like very different. Like overthrowing, underthrowing guys. Like there's just been like that game was that was one of the big things that I took away from it. I was like, holy fuck, this guy can't hit a pass. Like he's just, he's so over it or under it or like way the fuck off. And like 17 for 31, like, oh God. Like I just not a good showing at all. Like I love to see when those betting lines hit where it was like the completions and the pass attempts where you have pass attempts go over and completions go under.
Yeah.
Like, because that's actually a decent payout. And that hit in this game. Like, just crazy. Like,
wow.
Just not fucking good, man.
No.
Like,
it's a struggle to see, dude.
And
that's why I look at this. I'm like, man, nobody else is beating the Ravens or the Chiefs.
Get the run going either. Yeah.
No. And dude, stoned.
Yeah,
like stoned at the line of scrimmage. Joe Mixon was
Baltimore is the best run defense, though, so that's fair.
They do, and you know what? I think when you look at it, like even their pass defense is starting to play better. The defense is starting to come together.
Well, I said it was the best in the NFL over the last 5 weeks, and I was like, all right, it's fair.
Yep.
Like good call out.
They've played some good teams too.
Take that on your betting tickets, just to know that little tidbit of knowledge.
But now when you get into this, you're watching this game and you get all the conversation out there now. We can get into this now. It's the MVP tracker and where we're at with this. And everybody was on the Josh Allen train, and you guys and everybody in the fucking chat was giving me the the Josh Allen narrative.
Well,
but I thought for this show we'd do something a little bit fun here. So I actually was spewing over this, and I've heard a few takes. So I went over to Chat GPT here, and I basically punched in, and I was like, okay, obviously the award isn't just based on stats alone, but what would the main criteria be for figuring out how, someone is given the MVP award?
Mm-hmm.
So it basically spit out a couple of these things. I'm like, give me the check boxes, all right? When we're going through who's going to be the MVP. So one was impact of team success, first and foremost. And I think this was the strongest point you guys had for Josh Allen, right? Was the impact on his team and what he's been able to do with the lack of weapons and things like that, right? So that was huge. So that was number one. Two would be statistical dominance. Now, we know Lamar is leading over Josh Allen in stats, and that's kind of been the one fault is he's not there. Like even Joe Burrow's ahead of both of them at the same time. So we go through that. That's number two. Then number three, positional value. We know that quarterbacks are obviously they're going to be given the MVP award.
QB award.
Then four, you got clutch performance. So when I look at the performances that have happened this year, I wouldn't say anyone stands out specific, but Josh Allen does have the massive win over the Chiefs, which is the only loss that team has all season, right? But then you look over at Baltimore's side and it's like, okay, have they really won any big games? Like they lost to the Eagles, things like that. They finally beat the Steelers. Like this is where he's starting to establish that. And I look at, the performances against the Bengals. Was it necessarily Lamar Jackson? Not really, because he actually fumbled in overtime. And if we didn't miss the kick, we would have won that game. So when I look at the clutch performance, the Ravens are generally winning and they win. He's never really had a big comeback clutch performance per se, except if it's against the fucking Bengals, of course. But that's the difference maker. And I look at Josh Allen's side of things. I'm like, okay, did he have any clutch performances outside of like that Chiefs game that stands out? But that's the big one, right?
Yeah,
like he hasn't really beat any other
the fact that they were
teams.
in on that Rams game late definitely is the big wow. That was also his big 6 touchdown game.
Didn't win it though.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that it's like they're definitely feeding that, right? And then the snow game against the Niners, like there's been storylines that have fit very well throughout the season. You had made a whole big thing about that play of the year last year at the ESPYs with Lamar Jackson, pick it, throw it, grab it, run it, and do what you got to do there as the play of the year, right? Already on hand before I even say what the play of the year is going to be this year. And doesn't that tie perfectly with the MVP conversation? So
we'll get to that. Let me continue with my list.
Go ahead.
So
go and do your thing.
We talked about clutch performance. Now 5, we got consistency. Who's been the most consistent? I would probably say Josh Allen has. Lamar has his dips, and I think that's the only reason he's not in this leading conversation is because of the inconsistency with some games, right? Like Josh Allen's they've just kind of been like doing their thing. Although that last game, the last game. That was it.
What happened there, pal?
So there, you got consistency. And then next up, number 6, we get team context and support. So the MVP should ideally be the most valuable player on a team that is competitive, but they also need to shine even if their team isn't full of talent. Now for this, Josh Allen side of things, I've argued this countless times. Lamar is on one of the best fucking teams every goddamn year. Every year. And you look at the stats, everyone's like, oh, Lamar Jackson's stats this year. I'm like, why do you think he's doing better? I don't know. Stick Derek fucking Henry beside him in the backfield. Takes a lot of pressure off a guy like Lamar to do shit, right? Yeah. So there you go. So when I look at that, that's a Josh Allen thing. He's clearly elevated his team, and he doesn't have the same supporting cast as Lamar. And then the last one being narrative and storyline, which is what you just hit on there. Meaning, what is the narrative? what's going on. It's been the Josh Allen thing. But now it's like it's getting eerily close. I looked at the odds. Yeah. It's getting tight. So these last 2 games for Josh Allen, I think he's going to start to like, just because it's creeping in, I think he's going to go Superman mode these last couple of games because that shit happened. Like he came out with the press conference and he was like, you got to be careful. You don't want to show anyone shit like that. Like his fucking O-line got him an MVP chain.
Yeah, I saw that too.
For Christmas. This motherfucker has to ball out here at the end to secure that MVP vote. Yeah. So I just had to do that because you look at the narratives today and tons of people are on the Lamar train. Yeah. And I just I watched before we did our show Ryan Clark sit there and he's talking about Lamar Jackson and he's saying he was equating this MVP race for Josh Allen to essentially when Charles Barkley won the MVP in the NBA. Basically because it's like, hey, we've given Michael Jordan the MVP every year. We're going to give it to somebody else. It's the voter fatigue, right? Yeah. Where it's like, hey, fuck, like Lamar has gotten MVP twice now. Like we got to give it to someone else. Yeah. So I had to go and pull that up just for the people because we've been arguing the MVP stuff all year long. So this is going to be a tight one, man. Josh has to ball out here.
So we got another 3-peat potential then, is what we're saying.
It's 2 potentially.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah. No, we'll see. I think that's honestly the Lamar Jackson narrative is kind of coming on strong. And it's honestly, it should, because the way that he's been playing in the last couple of games here and throughout the season, like you said, he's putting up more numbers this year than he did last year. Right. There is definitely a reason why when you stick Derrick Henry instead of Gus Edwards.
Massive. Yeah.
Like it's a big fucking difference.
It is a huge difference.
But in the same light of it, I think the biggest part to me is then the conversation about, okay, are you building your team up or is your team fucking rocking already? And I still run with the Josh Allen narrative on that. Like it's the same thing to why Lamar last year got his credit, right? In my opinion. Like we're talking Lamar Jackson building himself into that narrative on his own in a lot of ways, right? And now you have Josh Allen doing the exact same thing this year. And I think that's what got people jaded a bit is like, they're all like, oh, well, fuck, Lamar's doing better than last year. How can he not win it? And then everyone's like, well, you got a good team. You got to fuck it. The things are coming along here. And then Josh Allen's like, yeah, I lost Stephen Diggs. Go fuck yourself. Like, it's like, this is how it goes. Yeah. So
they lost a lot of guys, even on the defensive side of the ball too. Like, and their team is just, they've played great. Now, I was dissecting the schedule and looking at things like that. I'm like, they haven't really played a lot of teams over 500 or playoff level teams. And he's just trying to put together an argument for this stuff, not in the sense of like who's going to win, just to, compare the two and contrast them. But statistically, Lamar's having a great season. But based on this criteria here, you look at it and you check those boxes. It's like, man, okay, I can see this is tight. Is Lamar probably one of the most dynamic players in the league? One of the most dynamic players that we've ever seen? Absolutely. And I think with him, he just broke Mike Vick's rushing record.
When I saw that I was like alone, right? Like, bro, this guy should be forever goated in Madden going forward, however you want to look at it, because Michael Vick was the fucking cheat code in Madden. So if you had Michael Vick, it was a cheat code. So now, forever and always, you might as well just lock in Lamar Jackson as a cheat code in the NFL in Madden. Lamar Jackson, and he's what was it, 41 games or less?
So it was 6,109 yards, and he broke that in 41 fewer games than Michael Vick. And dude, he's still in the prime of his career.
He's gonna just
still in the fucking prime of his career. Nobody's ever gonna break this record. He will go down probably as the most elusive rushing quarterback. Now, obviously, things can change, and that's kind of where the position is going. But he is one of a kind. He's truly special. Yep. Fuck, I hate saying that so much, but I
said 3-peat. I'll take that back. I fucked up on that. It's definitely not 3-peat. It's definitely a couple seasons.
He will,
he'll have his third there. Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
I do think like as long as Josh Allen plays good ball, he'll be good. Yeah, but because like it's a lot of the recency too. We just watched these guys in prime time; they dominated, but it's not like Lamar really did anything massively dominating. Broke off a big run for a touchdown. It was fast. Like civil numbers.
He's the fastest kid alive.
Yeah,
get alive.
And that was my argument before, is like everybody is just enamored by the way he plays football. Yeah. We love it. It's electric. It's cool to watch, this and that. But it doesn't fucking matter. Everybody's going to go about their business a different way. It's just how electric he looks. Like Joe Burrow threw a fucking touchdown on parallel with the ground the other day, and nobody's out here.
Yeah, I did like the no-look Steph shot to Mark Andrews in the end zone. I thought that was sick.
Yeah, that was cool.
I was like, this is what you're about, and I love that. And honestly, I was looking, so Texans defender on that play as well. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? He's just like, I get it. He's pinched. He's like, if I make a wrong move against this guy, I'm fucked, right? But then he froze and he didn't do anything. And then Lamar's just like, all right, sick. I'll just back up a few here, let it loose to fucking Andrews in the end zone, and here we go. But I was like, holy shit, like you can't make a mistake against this guy either, because even if you went for that tackle and you missed, then you look stupid, and it could have led to more.
I've watched this guy so much lately, and you look at that play specifically there, where it's like, okay, defenses can't play man coverage against Lamar because they're not turning their back to Lamar, because he can just take off and run. So you got man coverage, and then what happens is if you do not get to Lamar in the first 5 seconds of that play and he breaks out, you're fucked. Like you have to contain him, and that's the problem. If you let him squeeze out, he's going to make his magic. That's when it all happens. Does it all the time. So unless you get somebody in there and knows how to tackle properly,
who do you put on?
Never going to win.
Like that's the problem. It's like you can't even you can't even put anyone on him. Like, it's like now you're just wasting.
I think you just got to find a way to be, creative with the way you're going to pressure him. Yeah. Like what are his tendencies when the pocket breaks down? You have to get pressure in his face, and you have to be able to grab him within the first 5 to 7 seconds of that play. Like it has to be quick. It has to be quick. You're not going to go man for man trying
you're
to
not going to go spy on this guy every day.
It's not going to happen, man. So you got to find a way to kind of hit his blind spot or get him in a position where it's like, fuck, all right.
Yeah,
but
I don't even know.
How do you do that?
It's just it's incredibly tough.
But the one team that has his number, man, Kansas City Chiefs, and I put money on it right now that it's going to be those two teams again, and this time it's going to be an Arrowhead, and that's going to be a good fucking game again. So I don't see anyone beating these two teams, man. They're playing too well. But
Bills Mafia, what do you have to say about that? Let's hear it below.
Let's kind of hear where we're at with the arguments on the MVP stuff.
Everybody get a little something going here. Yeah. Comment below. Let's check it out. I want to hear all the narratives of what team thinks they're going to do what, because this is awesome. And we are where we are right now, week 17, man. Yeah, it's coming.
And then next week, once everything comes to a hold here, we'll be able to kind of get the playoff bracket out and start figuring out, some of these narratives here. But if you guys got some extra change, I'd probably be sprinkling it on the Chiefs to win this thing, because fuck, man, it just looks like it's going to happen, especially with the NFC. Some of these teams breaking down, like Detroit Philly,
looking
all these teams,
right
man.
Now.
I just, dude,
and that's such a sad fucking thing, man. The fact that the Lions
really
have just broken down here late. Because fuck, man, it's been
they were such a good story, man.
They're still they're a great story. I still think they have the balls to pull this off. Like that's what I love about this team. Yeah. And the Vikings, man, I just love that team too.
Oh man,
I just love what's happening with the Vikings. I don't give a fuck if they lose. I will be on the Vikings train all the way to the end, because this team has just been such a good fucking story too.
They have, and I'll be cheering for them this weekend too in a big game against Green Bay. But I think the Super Bowl everybody wants to see is the Bills versus the Lions, and that would just be something that we could all just collectively sit there, take a nice sigh of relief, and enjoy the show. Just crack a beer,
sing Kumbaya across the world.
Sing Kumbaya, man. Everything will be right in the world. Oh man, I really hope that happens. But as of late, doesn't look like it's gonna happen. Now, we got to get into this shitty fucking Thursday night game. Bears Seahawks quickly before we get into this slate of games. We're not going to touch too much on this. The game was 6-3. And if you were one of the people that actually stayed up and watched this entire thing, congrats, because I was one of those clowns as well.
Yeah.
It was pathetic. I had JSN in a couple of my fantasy leagues. He laid a stinker. I also had JSN on the over 67.5 receiving yards.
You and like everyone else.
He's hit that in 7 straight games. I'm like, why the fuck wouldn't this hit? Forgot to check the weather, and here we are. It was a stinker, and you knew that was going to happen on a Thursday night against the Bears. It just always fucking happens, man. It always happens. So that's game, one where you just take it on the chin, you learn.
Yeah, that game overall, like I was like the Bears fans in the crowd, so dejected, so just like I couldn't fucking cheer for a worse team right now. Every fucking play, someone got by to Caleb Williams, like, and everyone's playing the like Caleb Williams is a bust, this, that, in the area. Like, oh my God, you aren't watching the game then. Because Caleb Williams is actually pulling off the most miraculous shit on some occasions throughout this game. Like, he's falling back. He's running and scrambling to the back right of the end zone. That fucking first down late.
That touchdown to Odunze that I was called back to, that was nice.
Are you kidding? Yeah, that play alone with that counted. Like, I'm like, this guy is throwing fadeaway shots because he has to right now. And they're hitting. And even in situations where he had to scramble, he dropped the ball, he made a play out of it, right? Because of the fucking weather and whatever. Yep. But he did that twice and it worked out. He scrambled out of something, made it to the fucking play, got that play extended at the end of the game. And I'm like, if anyone fucking is doubting that this guy's talented as fuck, it shouldn't just stop watching. Because this guy is actually fucking incredible. And if they get an offensive line in front of him and give him some fucking time and space to actually not have to panic and make something out of the play, just wait and see what will come of this guy. Because holy crap, like we talked about this, it's situational with these guys. Putting him into this situation, coach gets fired, offensive coordinator, like fucking the offensive line is dog shit, and you're expecting this guy to be successful. Like, are you out of your mind? So, yeah, we talked about the Giants situation with what they're fucking running into right now. Yeah. Look at the Bears in the same light, because you're putting this kid in a fucking situation that should never be even discussed. Because it's like, you wonder why he's going to fail or why he's not going to become anything. It's this fucking rookie season of having to go like you see his face on the sidelines. I feel worse for him than I do for Joe Burrow. Like, it's like in these situations, this guy's like, I don't know what else I can fucking do to come out of this.
Man, I will touch on that. I don't like the fucking body language from him sometimes. He just looks like
that's my thing too.
He's flopping around all over the bench and shit like that. I'm like, dude, like, you are the leader of this team.
He's too cocky and to be where he is right now. In the situation that he is, you gotta cut that shit out. You gotta show maturity.
Like, man, you're not gonna have success right away. Like, everybody follows suit. You can't be that guy, right?
Yeah, you came in, said all the shit about the punter. That turned out to be an absolute flop. And you've got veterans on your team that hopefully have taught you a few things here. Yeah, because it's like, if you can't figure this out, like, you're gonna start blaming others. I don't think that's the right narrative. I think he's so talented that it's unfortunate. Like, if he moved on to any other fucking quarterback right now or any other situation, he'd be good. But like, this is a problem.
Yeah. Listen, like he has the talent. It's there. I do think he still runs around like it's college football a little too much. He's got to be a little bit more decisive. He can't be running around doing shit that he's doing. But you know what? That's what happens when you have an awful coaching staff and things like that. And you're going to have to run this back. You're going to have to find a coach that's bigger than Caleb Williams, a guy I would go out there and pay money. And funny, this just kind of came out in the news. Pete Carroll is interested in the Bears coaching job. That's a guy that's, got a history of success in the league, older guy that's probably somebody you need for a guy like Caleb Williams.
Oh, for sure. It's like Harbaugh and Herbert. Like, you throw that mix in there, and
you got to get somebody with experience, somebody that's bigger than the Caleb Williams show, somebody that can go in there and command a team to be much better and be disciplined and know just situationally what you're doing. Because when I watch that game, like, man, I know they got this guy who's just like assistant coach that's running the show right now, but it was like 2 minutes left. I know they had all their timeouts, but you had the fucking punt team on the field, dude.
Yeah.
You're in a 6-3 game.
Yeah.
You're out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you got the fucking punt team on the field, bro.
Yeah.
And then you call the timeout. Yeah. And then you have to put your team back out there because of the fact that you don't have the 3 timeouts.
Yeah.
And by some miracle, you get the throw to DJ
and it
Moore.
Was ahead of, it was 2 minutes and 14 seconds left as well. So it was beyond the 2 minute mark as well.
Yeah.
So it was like I agree entirely with that. I was like, dude, what is going on?
Confusion.
Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not just going to run this out and see what happens. Like, you're playing way too much, like, fucking strategy right now. Just play. Just fucking roll, man. Yeah.
Like, dude, what are you guys doing here? Punting? Like, get your boys out there. It wasn't even like that long of a distance. Like, go fucking do it. You make the catch. That was a great just Hail Mary because he had the blitz in his face right away. Just throws it up to DJ Moore. Great catch. And then they look lost. They're showing the Bears fans in this game. And they're just like, what the fuck am I watching? And I felt the pain, man.
I feel that.
I felt it watching this team play football. It was an embarrassment. Yeah. Man, oh man, they need to do some damage in the offseason here. But that's not to say they don't have the talent. The team has the talent. They definitely need to fill some voids. Yeah, sure, the offensive line needs a little bit of help. But you got to coach Caleb up too and help the offensive line and get this thing working a little bit better. But he's a talented quarterback. Just get a guy that knows how to run the show. Yeah. But aside from that game was wow. Not a whole lot to go off of there. That's crazy. Crazy. All right, so that kind of wraps up the Christmas games that we had. Not exactly how they wanted, well, at least how we wanted them to turn out. But safe to say there were some good sides if you were Chiefs, Ravens fans. Now let's get into this weekend's slate of games. We got games on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to close out the fantasy football playoffs and the fantasy season, and then big implications on the line here in Week 17 for some of these teams. Now, first game we're going to start off with is Chargers at Patriots. Patriots obviously out of it. Chargers actually still have some implications remaining because of the fact that they haven't necessarily, I don't think they've clinched yet necessarily, but they're still in the run with like Denver and everybody else that's going on. They have a game up on that last seed, but I think they have to win one more game at least. So this is where you can get it done. But I look at this game initially and I'm like, Chargers have kind of been up and down for me a little bit. When you're going into New England here, New England obviously don't have anything to play for. The weather is supposed to be a little bit iffy in this game, along with a bunch of others this weekend, depending on what's going on with the rain. How do you see the Chargers faring in this game against the Patriots? And I wanted to kind of pull up, I think the initial line was like 6 points or something like that.
It's 5.5 right now.
5.5 right now. So when you look at this game initially, what are you thinking?
I think Chargers, like we were talking about a little bit there with situation with the run game, right? I'll be very curious to like the 9. So I'm kind of looking at this from the long season perspective. So the Chiefs, or not the Chiefs, the Chargers line was 9.5 wins on the season, correct?
Yeah,
I believe that's where it's at. And we were like, oh, that's very interesting. But then we saw the schedule and we're like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then the Patriots were 4.5 on their line for the year. And we were like, I don't think you're going to squeak out any of those. We're looking at 3 right now. We're looking at 9. So do the 9.5? Does the 9 come through in this situation? I think it does. Because I think the Chargers definitely have enough here to make this happen, and there's playoff implications. So they have a little bit more fire to play with. Patriots can definitely spoil, but I just don't see that happening in this game. So I definitely think the Chargers are going to come out on top.
I think last year when these two teams played each other, I think it was later in the season as well. Was it later? It might have been earlier. But you remember what the score was?
What was it? Tell me.
6-0.
Oh.
It was 6-0 Chargers.
Yeah.
Why do I get just feelings that this game is going to be exactly the same? It's going to be an ugly game, not a lot of touchdowns. Yeah. And when I look at this from like, okay, I'm not touching any props in this game. Don't want anything to do with that. But then you look at, okay, we get the news that J.K. Dobbins is back. I'm looking at his rush total right now.
It's pretty
He's
high.
got a 54.5, which is expected, especially with Gus Edwards out.
Yeah.
And the Patriots defense is not the greatest when it comes to stopping the run. So for me, it's like, okay, we get it, snap count, this and that. But I think this game's going to be fucking ugly, man. Like, I just think it's going to be, the game is going to go under as a whole. Like, when we look at the total right now, 42.5, right around that range, I'm probably calling under in that game. Especially if there's weather implications. Definitely something to look at for me.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
Ugly game to say the least. Now, that's going to start us off on the Saturday. Let's bounce over to a game that has massive implications for the playoffs and for my team, the Bengals here. Broncos heading down to Cincinnati, playing the Bengals. It's just nice to have meaningful football. I've been saying that. Even though the Chiefs won and they clinched the seed, they could rest their guys next week, and it might not mean a damn thing. But this is at least a game where it's like, fuck, we got a shot to still make the playoffs, and Denver still has to play that game next week.
They do.
This is huge, man. Feels good. So line is 3 points right now. Again, the weather might be a little iffy in this game. That seems to be the common theme this week. What are your initial thoughts here, Jeff? I'm interested to hear your take on if Bo Nix can come into Cincy here and knock off Joe Burrow and the Bengals after they've strung together a couple wins here.
I think this is going to be that game where Joey B has to put up some numbers against a very, very good defense here. And it's not like he hasn't already this season. But then it all come down to exactly what you just said. Bo Nix, and he's been fucking great this year against the Bengals defense. So it comes down to not, I think, Joey B at all in this scenario. It comes down completely to the defense and whether or not they can stop. And that's been the challenge here. They are the favorite, obviously. We'll see how this kind of plays. I'm more excited to see stud on stud with fucking Surtain against Chase, and just kind of see that rivalry kind of really come to this game. And we know what the stat line is of what Surtain's done this season. It's been fucking incredible.
You are getting best on best.
You are getting best on best. Absolutely. That's what I will be watching for sure, is I just want to see that play out. And just obviously we know what that narrative has been all season long with between Joey B and Jamar. So like this team is potent. Like, they're unreal when it comes to that. Can that get shut down? And if that gets shut down, night, see you next year. That's where I'm at. So that's what it is.
I don't think they're going to. You're not going to be able to shut down our offense. I think our offense is too good. Denver isn't good enough to just completely shut our offense down. Nobody's completely shut us down. I mean, aside from like the couple games at the start of the season where this team was just slow start, all that stuff. Nobody, it doesn't matter how good your defense is stopping us completely. But if you want to contain Chase,
I would be curious whether or not so right now in the lineups, you got Higgins on Surtain based on the lineup matchups. And whether or not
this is the other thing too.
Play that
Surtain doesn't move around a lot.
No.
Either.
So this is
Chase has been motioning a lot this season, and part of the reason he's having success is through the motion. Yeah. So when I look at this, it's like, I don't necessarily think Pat Surtain is going to be following him around. So this is going to be interesting to see.
It'd be a fun watch if he does, and then I'll be all over this game, because I would just be like, I love that. Like, you're going to beat me. You're going to beat me. You're going to beat us. Like, you're going to have to go through me. And I think love that.
It's going to be a great fucking matchup. That's what you want to see, is best on best, like you said, but also just the implications of everything.
Yeah.
What I'm most excited to watch is I want to fucking see how Zach Taylor coaches against Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Because we've come up here on the show and I've said, look at what Sean Payton has done with the Broncos. This is the fucking time where I need to see some shit out of my head coach. I need to see a game plan. I need to see you put together something where you beat a coach who's done it and done it thoroughly this year. This is the spot, man. This is a spot. We know Joey B is going to do his thing. We know the offense is going to do his thing. I need to see everybody else work together in tandem and be on the same page in this game. And that's what I'm looking to see the most is, can this coach get this team to win a game that actually fucking means something? You know, none of the games that were meaningless before against shittier teams. This is a game that means a lot. So, and I think he's fighting for, you know, his job with these games that he coaches at the end of the year. So we're going to see. We're going to see what happens with that. But when I look at this, dude, I'm already all over the Cortland Sutton receiving yards prop. I'm already over the Bo Nix lines. I'm looking at that stuff. Like, I just think the defense I have no faith in. Yeah, I honestly don't. And I know they've played a lot better. They've created turnovers, but they've played awful offenses. Yeah. So I'm not, at least, you know what I'll take is that suppresses the lines of the opposing team a little bit. Yep. But when you go to Cortland Sutton's line, like 65.5 yards, dude, I think that's easily attainable. And he had a down game last week. Mm-hmm. So for me, and you know that it's going to be a shootout. They're going to have to score points a little bit, obviously, depending on the weather. But the two things that stand out to me is like Cortland Sutton receiving yards. And then I look at Javonte Williams and the check down passes that seem to work so well against our defense. Our linebackers just can't keep up with these guys. So you go to Javonte Williams and you go to his receiving props. His reception line is at 2.5. You can smack the over on that one. I promise you he will be catching a lot of balls out of the backfield in a game where you're going to have to shoot a little bit too. So those are the two things that stand out. But I'm just hoping for some good football, man. Just give me a good competitive game. Yep. See what we got, and let's take it down to the wire here. But that should be an exciting game. And then our late window game, we got the Arizona Cardinals at the LA Rams. So James Conner will suit up for the Cardinals this week. Nothing to play for the Cardinals, just looking to knock off a division opponent. The Rams still have to win because the Seahawks won. I think I saw a comment. Geno Smith is he's going to be a big Kyler Murray fan this weekend because if the Rams can lose, Seattle can get that division title. So it's going to be a big one between teams. It's in LA. I do expect the Cardinals to still be a little bit scrappy. What do you think?
It just depends on Call of Duty, really.
Is it a double XP weekend out there?
Yeah, is it something like that? I don't know. Kyler just kind of settled into what Kyler is. I think it's so funny coming from like the two sport player that this guy was. I don't know if you knew that, like obviously drafted as well, baseball as well. So much talent, so much, like literally one of the most talented people, and came in on the scene like, holy fuck, right? Like we were talking like Lamar type of like, wow, like this guy has so much ability. And then just recently in the last couple of years here, it's just really fallen off.
It's just inconsistent,
just very inconsistent. Now, do they win this game? No, I don't think that they do. I think this game is going to come down to the Rams doing what they need to do.
You got the Rams are 6.5 point favorites too.
Like, this is my thing. Arizona Cardinals defense for the run. Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams might score 3 fucking touchdowns this game. And I wouldn't be shocked if that happened.
91.5 yards. That's his line. Taking the over, you taking the under? Over? Jeez, okay.
I would not be shocked if he has 20 plus carries, over 100 yards, rush rack, whatever the case, and 2 touchdowns. I would be putting that in my card because of the situation with the Cardinals defense against the run. That I don't envision them stopping that alone. And then you add in the fact that all the other narratives that are playing into this game, and you got Stafford, you got Kupp, you got all these guys. They're in Nuku. You're fucked. I can't get past that. I think they're gonna get fucking smoked. I think the Rams are gonna crush them.
That's interesting because I think they're gonna be a little bit scrappier than you think. I think there's something with teams that there's nothing they have to play for where they can just play free and mistake free. Like, I don't give a fuck. Just throw the ball out there, go do your thing.
Yeah, but they still got bonuses and shit on the line. Like, they're still going to play their game, but to an extent. Like, some guys look at things some are going to mail it. Some guys are going to play for it. Like,
you still got talent on this team. If James Conner plays too and he plays well, like, he can still run the ball. Like, that wasn't their problem. They could score points. There's inconsistencies with Marvin Harrison. Trey McBride still hasn't scored a touchdown all year. For like, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
And I think these are kind of some of the things where it's just like, fuck it. Let's just go out there and let's see what we can do against this team and try and knock off a division opponent. So I think it might be a little closer than a blowout, but I'm probably on your side with the Kyron Williams thing. Yeah, that's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
So that's our first game off that slate from the last game on the slate for Saturday. The best game is definitely going to be that Bengals game. But a couple games we get to tune into on the Saturday. Get a nice weekend full of football here. Now let's get into some of the Sunday games, some more implications here. Talking about stat-wise, you get into the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In this game, we're obviously on Mike Evans' watch, trying to see if this guy can hit that 1,000-yard mark again. I think they're still going to be forcing this guy the ball, especially against the Carolina Panthers defense. But the big thing with the Panthers is obviously the rush defense. So for fantasy finals here and the lines, I think it's Bucky Irving, and that's clearly been the trend. But what stands out to you initially with this matchup?
No, I think you're right. We're talking Panthers-Bucks, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think, like you said it, I think the implications alone, plus the Buccaneers, I think, are going to smoke this team. They should. I think the Panthers.
They lost to Dallas last week.
Yeah, but I think that's why they'll smoke them. And
bounce back.
Yeah, I think bounce back. They have to. And it's the Panthers.
And the Panthers did the opposite last week.
Yeah,
they
and the Panthers
off the Cardinals.
did the other situation. So whether or not they're and we've said this over the last couple of weeks here, the Panthers have been playing great fucking football in the last couple, probably last 4, if not 5 weeks. They've actually been pretty fucking solid. And it's been intriguing to watch for sure. But I will say, I think Tampa struggles with the run as well. And I think that's something that we'll be curious to watch for Chuba Hubbard and kind of see what's going on there.
He was a little banged up. I was a little curious to see kind of what his status was going to be for the games. Yeah. So that's when I look at this, I'm like, it's just the way both these teams have come off opposite games.
Yeah.
You're right. The bounce back. And then I don't know, this could be a letdown from the Panthers, but
the
initial line right now between that game is 8 points still.
Yeah.
So it's a big number. Yeah. And Carolina's been hanging in, winning some games outright here.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty interesting number for two teams that did what we just said last week.
Yeah, some of the nice PFF has them actually right now as the edge on the money line, and that money line's currently sitting at plus 324 for Carolina. So that's very interesting. I would say Tampa's going to win this game just based on the other side of this. Exactly what you said. They got to get the ball downfield. So Buddy's going to be passing. The run defense for Carolina is terrible. I think Bucky is going to have it, and Rachaad White, just between the two, are going to figure that out. I can't say that I don't put the faith right now in Tampa, and just Baker wants to be that guy too. So he's come from a shit scenario here and shown up week over week when it's counted, especially considering all the fucking crap that's happened to their receiving core. So this is I put this more in Baker's hands than Bryce's.
Yeah. And I think I'll be hammering Mike Evans' receptions or receiving yards for the final stretch here, just because I think they're going to want to force feed him the ball a little bit to get this target. So that's definitely what I'm looking at. I agree with you. I do think the Bucs win, but the 8 does scare me a little bit in that game. But let's next game we got Eagles. Yeah, interesting. All right, Eagles Cowboys. On our next game here, so we talked about records being broken. It's been a year of records. It just seems like the quality of games being played just haven't been there, but there's clearly been a lot of records being reached this year, which is pretty crazy to see. In this one, Eagles-Cowboys, you got Saquon going for Eric Dickerson's record. Dickerson rushed for 2,105 yards in 1984. Barkley needs 268 to achieve that goal. And the funny thing is he plays the Giants next week. So he could be wrapping up that record breaker against his former team, which would be pretty damn cool. So
that'd be awesome.
It'd be pretty crazy. And man,
It'd
would
be
that
such
just
a wound, man.
to
Oh,
be the Giants
fuck.
watching that
To
happen?
be the
That's
Giants and the
crazy.
Giants fans, like, yeah, dumpster fire, lock that one in. That's the
Unbelievable.
biggest lock of the year so far, is that
Fuck
fucking, oh man, if that happens, I will lose my mind.
Yeah,
I will
I
laugh
agree.
so hard because I love that type of shit. That troll and then that
Yeah.
comeback, those revenge games. If that happens, that's the fucking greatest thing that's happened all year. Give him the MVP if that happens, because if he fucking comes into the Giants and goes and rolls on him and sets a fucking NFL rushing record, I will cry. That's fucking fantastic. That's amazing.
I think we all want to see that. But quick takes off this. The line on Bet365 right now, 7.5 on the Eagles. Eagles are going to be starting Kenny Pickett here. It's at home. I am just hoping that this helps A.J. Brown for my fantasy playoffs here. I think we know, like we talked about before, they're going to play these guys. They're going to stack the box a little bit more, make Kenny throw the ball, which rightfully so, you should. You know what Saquon can do, but at the same time, we know Dallas's rush defense. I think Saquon's going to have a big day regardless too, right?
Yeah, between that and then obviously like Saquon can catch a ball too. Like it's not like he's a one-dimensional player. This guy's fucking unbelievable all over the field. So I don't think you can't prevent that. You can't prevent from him getting space and making other things happen too. Yeah. One of his best plays of the year, the most crazy play outside of that's a contender actually. Now that we bring it up, outside of play of the year, yeah.
Dude, there's gonna be some nice plays of the year.
Some good end of the year plays for the SPs, but
that's gonna be good, man.
That happened, I'm pretty sure, off of a catch, right? So it's not to say that he can't do both sides of the ball. So but I know they're going to be trying to feed him to get this record. But
CD shut down for the Cowboys now too, so I think we're both on the Eagles here. Even if Kenny Pickett's in, this is in Philadelphia. I think it's going to be a Saquon game, but I'm hoping
Dallas coming Kenny to be 7-8 on the year this year is very shocking to me.
Yeah,
that has been probably one of the how did that happen? Because honestly, they have just had so many things not happen this year that record is the most shocking record in the NFL. Just
goes to show that they're maybe not yours too. They still have that's the same with the Bengals, right? You just kind of land in that middle area when your team is it's good, but it's just not great.
Well, I would say Dallas is not.
See,
Dallas
we did this last year.
This year,
Bengals.
Would you say Dallas is better than the Bengals, or should have the same record?
No, but defensively, they're probably a little bit better, right?
Mm-hmm. But when you look at it, a lot too.
Look at who they played on a couple of those games that they won, and they beat Washington at one point in the season there too when they had the backup in. But the Bengals finished 9-8 last year when we lost Joe Burrow in Week 10. So it just kind of it falls that way sometimes, Team rallies, you get a couple wins, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But moving off that game, we got Jets at Bills. This is the Josh Allen MVP watch. He's got to keep it going here. I think we both talked about this. Josh Allen's he's going to be trying to lay some pipe here. So you got banged up Jets.
Every time. Gets me.
I think you gotta. Bill's got to come out hot here. I'm just
hoping banged up Jets and Josh Allen's going to be laying some pipe. There you go.
He's going to be laying some pipe. There you go.
That's
all that needs to be said in that. Not really looking for much more. But then we go, oh, man, this game, Raiders Saints, battle of the irrelevant here. For me, it's I'm just hoping one of these guys could maybe, grab me some points for fantasy implications. Amir Abdullah, if you're out there, buddy, I might need you.
It's a good matchup. We'll see how it goes. You got some definitely some. That's a sneaky pickup.
Yeah.
If you're in a situation right now, funny enough, I did it 3 weeks ago, and he's put up a fucking almost a goose egg on me, and I was like, this guy's shit. I'm dropping him right away. Then back-to-back weeks goes 18, 19 points. Coming into this week, a little situation with the backup and the roles, playing a bit of a narrative there and getting a little bit more touches. So. We'll see, but I think that's a decent play. So I was actually telling Bengals over here, I was like, you know what? That's probably your smartest fucking play of the year if you do it because of the situation and because of everything. And they have nothing to win. They have nothing to gain. They're going to run their plays and he's going to get garbage points. The way I look at it, they just need to not get fucking loaded here like last day when you don't have that, and
don't
then
let the game get
you're
away
not able
from
to be
you.
on the field to get points. That's the only thing.
I don't think that's going to happen either, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the game is going to get away from them.
When
I look at it, it's a 1-point spread on the Raiders. The over-under, I might actually
this is the game to
with
play
the over.
Yeah.
It's 37.5, which rightfully so. But I think both of these teams just align so well. There's going to be some shit points scored just because the defenses are ass. And they got guys that are just going to be out there having fun, playing for nothing. Yeah. So I might flirt with the over in that game just for that sake. Yeah. But not much else to talk about with that one. Let's bounce over. We got Colts at Giants. Giants obviously don't want to win another game because they want to stay in that one spot. And then you got the Colts. They're still fighting for that last playoff spot. Since he does need the Colts to lose one more game here, same with the Dolphins. I don't know if the Colts lose at the Giants. I don't see the Giants squeezing one out here, but Anthony Richardson is questionable. Same thing with Malik Neighbors for the Giants side of things. So you got two teams, one's on the cusp of the playoffs potentially. The other
one doesn't want to lose their biggest asset.
They don't want that. So I think even if Flacco goes, we're still rolling Colts. I don't think anyone's really rolling with the Giants here.
Yeah, I wouldn't roll. Rundy, Giants, Jonathan Taylor. Yeah.
That's it.
That's all I gotta say. Yeah.
That's all we're going with. Okay, and then we'll bounce off that. We got Titans at Jags. This one, irrelevant game, but I do think a lot of people have fantasy guys from both of these teams. Just kind of, the Calvin Ridleys, the Brian Thomas Jr.
Is Evan Ingram? He's out though. Yeah.
He's on the IR. He's gone.
He's
but
done.
Just those kind of it's a good matchup. Esque players for the Titans. I think I might start Tajay Spears in one of my leagues because of that. He had 2 back-to-back games where he's put up points. You're playing the Jags, shitty run defense.
Yeah,
Pollard's been banged up a bit, so this game has fantasy implications more so than real implications.
For sure, yes.
So that will be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And then aside from that, bouncing over to Dolphins at Browns. This game just meh. I think that's literally what I put in the notes here for the game. Just not a whole lot going on.
Just meh.
The Dolphins are, literally. I'm looking at this. I'm like, Dolphins got to play. Dolphins got to technically still win to get in. I think they're actually what are they, 6.5-point favorite?
I thought this team was so fucking done when everything happened with Tua early in the season. Yeah, and so kudos to this crew for battling back amidst all odds, because number one, I thought Tua was done. I didn't think this guy was going to come back at all. But amidst injuries with Mostert and a chain and fucking everyone, Waddle, Hill's been down and out. I don't even know how this team has actually amassed what they have aside from their defense being a pretty good defense. This is one of those games that you're just kind of all right, fuck. I guess the Dolphins aren't out of it. They're still,
I know
they're still very much
technically in contention right now, right? So, and they're playing the Browns. The Browns are starting DTR again. I don't see Njoku's not playing. Chubb is out. I don't know what the Browns are really going to do. We'll see. His game doesn't really stand out. I think Waddle might be out. I think the only thing with this is always just Achane right now. Achane receptions. He's the check down king right now.
He is. Leading the team
is just getting the ball out to him. Yeah. When I look at that, what is his line? He's got to have a 5.5.
It's 6.5, 6. I think. So. Yeah. I haven't. I'm just spitting that because that's what he's been at for the last couple weeks.
I might just take the yardage on that then. They don't even have his line up right now, but yards is 35.5 on receiving props. I think that's the way you go with this.
Funny enough, I have the last one I have is 4.5. So that's interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
I want to see where that line goes at, because that is
and his receiving yards right now is 34.5. So that's impressive. Yeah.
That's where I will be leaning if I'm taking any Miami bets here. But we're kind of getting down to the last games here, and these are where it starts to get a little bit more entertaining. We got the Packers at the Vikings.
God, I love this fucking division, man. This division is the fucking best. I love this fucking division.
It is absolutely the best.
Yeah.
I actually just made a bet over the Christmas holidays. Shout out my cousin Brian out there. He took the Packers. I took the Vikings. So I'm rolling with the Vikes here. Rolling with the Vikes
Gotta
here.
roll with the Vikes, man.
I
But Packers, man, such a
just
fucking beautiful team, man. Like
I think they're
love this
the
organization.
least appreciated team this year. They haven't been talked about enough.
Yeah.
But to me, my perspective is I want to see what Jordan Love can do, because I know he's won a lot of the games that he should win, and the team has collectively. I want to see what happens when you go up against the Vikings and a good defense like this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what he can do against a team like the Vikings.
Yes.
The Vikings
if you don't know and haven't heard this before, Bengals believes that Jordan Love is a system quarterback and only a system quarterback. So I know no shit you took the Vikings in this one, because you have no faith in Jordan Love, which is wild to me.
It's not that I don't have faith. I just think Jordan Love is more so a product of how well his team is built around him. When you look at the team's success, Josh Jacobs has like 20 to 25 carries a game. Scores multiple touchdowns. Jordan Love has under 25 pass attempts generally.
Yeah, I will be very curious. Well, that's a good point. Pass attempts, I think it was like 28 last week with Jordan Love, and it's been it's been in that situation between 24 to 28 all season long. But Josh Jacobs against this run defense and against this Minnesota Vikings, who have been very, very fucking good.
Very good.
Will be the story.
This is what I want to see is when you shut Josh down, what the fuck can Jordan Love do? Yeah. Can they play ball? That is what I want to see, because they're susceptible to the pass. We've seen that. But when you shut down Jacobs, what do you got, Mr. Love? So let's see it. So that's going to be a good one. Good one to watch. Then we got Falcons Commanders in the night window. That's another big game. Mm-hmm. You got Jaden Daniels, the way he's been playing, going up now against Michael Penix. A lot of fantasy implications come down to the wire here. People with the Bijans, the Jaden Daniels, the Terry McLaurins. This is going to be a big one for fantasy playoffs. This is going to be a good game to watch because both these teams are still vying. Falcons are fighting for, obviously, to win their division. They still got to win, and then the Commanders are fighting for their playoff spot too and trying to win that division against the Eagles, right? So this is going to be an entertaining game, to say the least. I'm excited to see it. I hope the weather isn't shit.
And it's funny because the points are finally back up there for the Falcons. In the last 6 weeks here, they have not been scoring a lot of points, and their lines have not been very high. This game right now is set to 46.5. So that's interesting, given the fact that they believe a little bit more in Penix over fucking Cousins leading this team and what that means for it. So that's a very curious kind of takeaway here. Plus, we know the Commanders and what they are and what they can be on offense at any given game. So that helps.
See, that's when I look at this game and I'm like, man, a couple of weeks ago, we were questioning why the Falcons were a 4-point favorite against a Raiders team.
Yep.
And now they're on the road against the Commanders, who are clearly a way better team, right? 4-point dogs. And I'm like, what have they done to really convince us? I don't know if they're
that much better of a team. I think the Falcons have just the way Cousins was playing didn't speak to the actual team. He was losing them games, and that's why they made the switch here. At the end of the day, him throwing 4 fucking interceptions and then 2 interceptions and then 1 and not throwing any fucking touchdowns was losing them games. If you can get that reversed a bit with the quarterback situation, this team showed early that when the quarterback situation was playing right, this team was able to win and win well. So they, between Bijan and the rest of the crew, they have all the pieces that they need to be a winning team, but
they do.
Kirk was unfortunately holding them back to the decision that then came down about that. Right. So I do think that this is a sneaky matchup here for the Falcons.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to see something out of Michael Penix.
You got to have it.
He didn't have to do anything, man. The defense had 2 pick sixes.
Oh, yeah.
Aside from that, Kyle Pitts
ruined my year.
Kyle Pitts was trying to give the Giants points last week. So we're going to kind of see primetime spotlight.
No, that's what I mean. I think this team is a lot better than necessarily that narrative suggests. Yeah.
So this will be a good game. Yeah, this last slate is good. And then we got our final Monday, Detroit Lions, San Francisco 49ers. We know the Niners are out of it. They've been banged up.
It's 3.5.
I would
50
expect
and a
the
half
Niners
total.
to still be scrappy, right? They lost last week to Miami, didn't look the greatest.
Yeah.
Now you're at home. I think this is more a game of pride for San Francisco.
Fair.
So for me, it's like I don't think Detroit's walking in here and this is just going to be a gimme, right?
Yeah. No, they're banged up, man. Like that's the problem is they don't have the dynamic backfield that they did before. Like they're having to play a different game here, and that's what sucks about this Lions season ending off this way is like I wanted to see them. Everyone wanted to see them. The whole narrative being behind the Bills and Lions was the fact that the Lions couldn't be stopped because of fucking Sonic and Knuckles back there. Like it was just been such a good storyline. The fact that that's busted up. Now they're going to have to rely on Jared Goff a little bit more, even though he's been really fucking efficient and great all this season. But now JMO has to step up on offense. Like they have to get a little bit more out of their Laportas and their fucking JMOs and these guys to mitigate what they had with David Montgomery. And I think that's the biggest thing for me in this game. That plus your defensive woes that you're dealing with right now are really catching up to this team. And they need a break, man. Like it's actually hurt the Lions being in this position where they are running into this fucking division where they've had to keep the fucking line moving in order to stay where they are. And that's been wild because at the end of the day, if the NFC North wasn't what it is, this team could actually probably have like stayed a little healthier throughout the season here. So like having to keep pressing, they're running out of steam here a little bit. And it's really fucking unfortunate because this team's been such a fun watch. But like, this is like, why is this game against the Niners 3.5? Like that to me is just crazy given all the other shit that's happening with the Niners. Like that's wild.
Because they can get scored on, man. Like they can't
can
stop a whole lot. So the Niners are going to put up points. The total is 50.5. You know that there's going to be points on both sides, but and to me, like it's a pride game for the 49ers, but then Detroit looking to kind of get a little bit more of like a little get back spot for last year's playoff game. So this is going to be an entertaining game to say the least, but for the viewers, let's rattle off our picks for the week here. We'll start with the Saturday games just straight up here. And then we'll come back, see where we end up here. So first game, Chargers at the Patriots. Who you got?
Got Chargers for sure.
All right. I got the Chargers as well. All right. Next game, Broncos at the Bengals. Who you got?
I'm going to go Broncos.
Oh. I'm going to go Bengals. I'm going Bengals.
You got to go Bengals.
Zach Taylor's got to show me something here.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, Cardinals at Rams.
I'm going to go Rams. Big time.
Okay. I'm going to go Rams as well. Okay. Now on to our Sunday games. We got the Panthers at the Buccaneers.
Bucks.
Bucks as well for me. Okay. Rolling over to Dallas at Philadelphia. Even though Kenny Pickett's starting, I'm rolling with the Eagles. Who you got?
Eagles as well. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Don't trust it without CD.
Yeah, definitely not. We got Colts at the Giants. We talked about the Giants. They are not looking to win another game. I'm going Colts.
Colts as well.
Okay, and then this is going to be a tough one. Raiders at Saints.
Raiders.
I don't know if the Raiders want to win a game. I'm going to take the Saints in this one, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to take Brock Bowers 2+ touchdowns and just shits on the Saints in this particular moment. And you need it. You need Amir to show up. I'm going to go Raiders.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I do not like the Saints look like ass. I'm going to take the Raiders. I'm going to switch my pick. I can't even
switch it up.
Dude, the thought of
that's what I just can't
so
think of, like what I saw in that game. Like I was like, this is the worst fucking team in football. And then I saw the Bears last night. I was like, I don't know anymore.
Yeah,
but like, holy fuck.
The Saints are so bad.
Like,
yeah, I'm going to go Raiders.
All those teams, even the Raiders are shit. But hey, let's see what the Raiders got.
Let's see. All right, now we're going over to New York. We got the Bills. Jets are at the Bills. I'm going to lead this off. This is going to be a Josh Allen get right on the MVP path game. I'm going Bills.
I would say it's going to be a closer game, but I'm going to also go with the Bills. I think the Bills
the Jets cover the 10-point spread?
I think the Jets will cover the 10-point spread, but I do think the Bills will win this because I did post that thing, and I really want it to be fucking true that they go 4-12 at New Year's. Because I think that'd just be fucking great.
That would be
Called
hilarious.
that shit 2 months ago. I will laugh if that happens. So I got to stick with the guns here and hope for that. So
fair enough. All right, now we got Titans Jags. This is good. This is exactly like that Raiders fucking Saints game. This is a tough one. Another 1-point spread. I think with this, I'm gonna go. Oh fuck, bro! I'm gonna lean Jacksonville in this game.
All right, I'm just gonna go Tennessee just for the fun of it. Then I honestly, this is such a shit me game. Like I don't even know what this is. This is just one of those. But yeah, we'll go Titans. I think Titans have a little bit more depth on the team right now that's actually alive. So I'm gonna go with the Titans.
That's very true. Fuck. Oh man, I don't like that play either. Holy shit!
You locked it in. No switch ups now.
No switch ups. All right, we're going Miami Dolphins at the Cleveland Browns. Fuck, bro. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins in this game.
You go with the Dolphins?
Yeah.
I will go with the Dolphins as well. Yeah. Hard not to. I think the Browns might be a sneaky play here on the spread. Be a sneaky one, but I'm gonna go with the Dolphins.
Don't be surprised if the Browns win straight up just because the Dolphins.
That's why I'll take the Browns spread in this game. I actually do think that's a pretty good play.
All right, now we got Packers, Vikings. You guys already know who I'm rolling with. Got Sammy Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. Chappy, what you got?
Can't stop. Won't stop.
Minnesota Vikings.
Let's go, Minnesota Vikings, baby.
Lock it in. All right, and then our Sunday nighter, we got the Falcons at the Commanders. I'm going to take the Washington Commanders at home here. What you got?
You know what? I'm going to take the Falcons in this game.
Interesting. All right. Okay, Falcons it is. And then our last game on the slate, Detroit Lions at the San Francisco 49ers. This is going to be closer than we expect, I think. And who you got? I'm going to let you take the first jab at this one.
You know what? I'm going to take the Niners because more than anything right now in this game, I want to see the narrative where the Vikings win and Detroit has to go into next week. And I want to see that. Too. So I like that. That's where I'm going to go Niners because I want to see that battle it out. And I think this has just been so much fucking fun to watch this division. I want to get it a little bit more spicier by the end of it.
All right. I'm going to take the Lions just because I think Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't know how San Fran's going to stop them offensively. I do think they're going to score points, but just not as much as the Lions. So I'll take the Lions in that one. And then we'll be back and we'll recap what we got. But it's going to be a pretty solid weekend of games here. Wrap it up. Good luck to everybody out there in the fantasy playoffs. If you guys are in the finals, we'll be back on to recap everything starting next week. Chappy, you got any parting words for the people out there?
Nope, can't wait. Week 17. We're on to it. Almost there, and playoff football is not far away, and we're going to be doing a lot of fun shit when it comes down to it. So keep an eye out for us. Hit that bell. Appreciate you.
That's it. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is the Chappy Bengals Podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Later, guys.
Easy.